Welcome back to yet another episode of Dark Souls, and in the previous one we managed to beat not one but two bosses, which is something that's very unheard of. But because of how these bosses are structured, or at least because of how they look like, I think it's warranted, because the first one was essentially a very easy mode, but the second one was also pretty easy. So two easy bosses makes for one full boss, so to say. And I hope in this one you'll see one okay boss and one not so okay boss. And I think you'll understand what I mean as soon as we get there. But yeah, we managed to get quite far, and now we just have to go to the other side. I didn't want to drop down, but I think it's the right way, so. No, it's not. Of course, I just came from here. This is where I fought the Demon Fire Sage, and then I went up the I'm so bad at this. I'm really terrible. Again, I completely forgot where I'm supposed to go. I even forget that there were stairs like this after the first boss, but I guess it makes sense. I don't see a reason why there wouldn't be. And I believe that this boss, you can actually fight him before getting the Lord Vessel. So it's just something that I didn't do, or maybe you can't. I'm not sure, but I think it's something akin to that. Okay, so where do we go next? I still won't fight you guys. I'm a peaceful individual. Maybe I just need to go in a totally different direction. I'm not even sure. Because obviously if I go forward, I fall down. If I go right, there's nothing here. And if I go left, there's also nothing here. So I'm kind of lost. Is this the game telling me I need to go back where I came from? That seems wrong. I just came from there. Why would I go there again? This is a sign of a confused individual. Was this boss optional? I don't think he was an optional boss. But the fact that this elevator takes me back to the top gives me an indication that I'm supposed to go somewhere else. So, what I'm gonna do is check where I'm supposed to go, and I'm gonna be right back. So, be right back. So apparently I'm a complete dummy, and not just a dummy, I missed the most obvious pet in existence. Okay, not the most obvious pet, but it was pretty damn obvious. So what I did was I went upstairs, and going down was correct, entirely correct. I'm supposed to get down there. I'm just gonna drop off again. Ah, man, I just had to go straight. There was no reason for me to go up except to actually rest at the bonfire. But what's even crazier about this, I mean, I guess it unlocks a shortcut, and that's the main reason of why that elevator is there. But it just messed me up because I thought it's a natural progression of where you're supposed to go. But yeah, dummy, just use these stairs. I guess I didn't see them because I went down, it was very dark. But you can see there's yet another bonfire here. Which is a bit odd, because why would you need a shortcut since you can teleport? I guess that's just part of some things that they didn't really design well, or maybe they didn't necessarily think it through. Maybe they designed the area without this bonfire, but when the playtesters played it, they said that the wait, when you have to wait for the bonfire to come down to get back down here, is way too much, so they just added one here just in front of the boss, which is understandable, but at the same time you have so much you have to run from one bonfire to the next for so far in so many areas. I'm not sure why they changed how they did things here. So just beyond this gate is our next boss fight. It's a centipede demon. What do you do? Well, first of all, you make a run for it. That's what you do. You try to get to the other side where you actually have more space or place to fight him. You need to heal here, I think, so you can get through. And this is where you're supposed to, but it's much easier to fight him here. It also takes some time to get around because of the branches. But at first, when you actually come here, it doesn't necessarily seem like you can get here just because there's lava in the way, and it does deal an insane amount of damage. But this is definitely the safest place and the best way to fight him. Besides that, he's not really that difficult. He does have some nasty attacks, like this one. But mainly when he gets in melee range, you just need to dodge well and wait for him to come near you. But if he just does the same attack over and over again, I don't think we'll get anywhere. So yeah, thank you. Like with other bosses, you just wait for him to attack, and then you get in for a swing or two, and that's how you beat him. He doesn't spit lava, even though it might seem like he does, but the design of him is really, really cool. He just looks very menacing. He's a really cool boss, in my opinion. It's lagging so much because the screen is shaking. Oh, come on, don't push me off. That's just cheap. Standing below him is generally also a good idea. That's just a good idea with most bosses. They tend to fire in front of them because it just makes more sense that way, just out of, not game design standpoint, but just out of their anatomy, I guess, to fire in front of them. They're not really gonna shoot below them. This is something that's kind of addressed in the next installments of the games, where you just can't stand below certain enemies. They have a lot of countermeasures built in, so you can't cheese them, so to say. Oh, I got the ring. Oh, of course, when you chop off his tail, you get the ring. I thought you get it after you kill him, but I guess you can get it in both cases. So when you chop off his tail, or when you actually beat him, you get the ring. So let's say, what does the ring do? Well, what it does is a really great effect. It's also kind of necessary to some extent. And once you equip it, you become sort of invincible. Not invincible, but you take less damage from the fire, as in a lot less damage. And once you have that, you can just run through and get to the next area. So as a boss, he's there as more of a distraction than anything else. He's not how I would call it an important boss. Like I mentioned with a lot of these bosses. Wait, isn't this where you're supposed to go? Like I mentioned with a lot of these bosses, they're just there as fillers, just as regular enemies of sorts. And when you fight them... No? Am I completely lost again? I just got unlost and I got lost again. I really thought you had to go to the left there, but I guess not. Maybe some other area where I can take the ring. Let's just explore a bit. I don't want to rush everything, but it's a bit odd. Because I think this is maybe I go... Yeah, I think maybe here. I think I remember going to the left and then something like this, but I just checked that area and it didn't prove to be worthwhile. But why would there be like almost such an obvious path here? Because of this. Ah, I knew I had to go to the left. I just see the opening. But yeah, he's just a regular enemy NPC to some regard. He's not a serious boss, so to say. He's just another demon that you have to fight in order to get through. And he does have this orange heart drink. And it's a bit of a cheesy way to get around this lava requirement. And another soul layer here. He's starting to lose his mind now, which is... He's still searching. Poor guy, yeah. I think his quest, so to say, is the only one we'll complete. Just because I didn't talk to any other NPC. And he's by far the NPC that I like the least, but yeah. Yeah, so he's just a regular enemy of sorts. The demon, I mean, he's just yet another pawn. But how they introduce him, or just how they act upon him, I think is a really cheesy strategy, a really weird one. Why would they even give you a ring? I mean, understand, the whole place is in lava. And, oh yeah, by the way, this is the isolate I was talking about. Now it's under lava, everything is a dinosaur or a demon of some sort, so not a nice place to be at all. The way that... okay, I understand the aesthetics. Obviously, you want to have lava everywhere, and going through the lava is a pretty nice experience once you know that the ring can actually do what it can do. But the fact is, it just seems a bit cheesy to me to some extent, because you have to, first of all, get the ring, and once you get the ring... I'm not gonna go there. And once you get the ring, then you have to equip it, and then you suddenly become immune. And obviously, I think all of this area could be just done with these branches, since there's really no combat here at all. And the fact is, you have to go through these dinosaurs. They don't really aggro on you unless you get really, really close. But there's no reason why you would want to. They don't really even have complete animations, I think. They're just not a fun fight at all. And the fact is that this area does feel severely underdeveloped. And putting that orange heart ring on top of that is a bit of a bummer. It's something that I think is flavorful, but just out of gameplay perspective and things like that, I don't think it has a place in the game, because it doesn't really affect any other parts as well, which is a bit of a... which is, I think, what bothers me the most. The fact is that this orange hard drink only has this one use. Sure, no, you can use it to explore and things like that, and that's all fine and dandy, but since you can only use it once to traverse these areas, and it pretty much has to be mandatory, otherwise I don't think you can get through this, it makes it that you're forced to use it. I think it's especially silly because you have a ring in the game which you can't take off, which is the ring of favor and protection, and I have it equipped now. And obviously I don't want to remove it because if I do, it's gonna break, and I don't want to have to make a decision on which ring I'm gonna keep. And I think that's a bit of a bummer. I think they didn't really think this through, and even though it isn't absolutely necessary, like I might think it is, or at least as I'm pointing it out, because it's not like you have to equip it, it's just a good idea if you want to survive. I guess maybe you can choose the way some other way, but it's difficult, and I think it's definitely a strategy or a way of making the game be just a little bit more tedious, and just not tedious, but I would say cumbersome than it really needs to be. Okay, so there's a hidden bonfire here, and a lot of people do wonder on how you're supposed to figure this bonfire out. And I think this part is actually a brilliant piece of game design, because you were just in that other temple of whatever, and you saw that there was something in there. There was a chest in the middle. So if you just kind of pay attention to those clues, it might give you an idea that there is something like a hidden bonfire here. Especially because the run from the start to this point feels very long, and it might give an indication that not everything is where it's supposed to be. But thankfully the run from this bonfire to the actual boss is not that far at all, which gives you an indication that this is probably the way the developers intended for you to fight this next boss that we're gonna fight. I know I didn't find it on my first playthrough, and it was so annoying just having to run through that whole area again. You saw it took me quite a bit of time. And it's not even necessarily the fact that you have to run through it, it's just that there's nothing to do except run through it. There are no enemies in the way, there are no ways to actually get stronger, it's just tedious and it's just long. It kind of reminds me of Shrine of an Amana from Dark Souls 2, except with a lot less enemies. Just a very long path that you have to traverse in order to get through, and it's annoying to say the least, and the fact that they put that bonfire here I think is a very welcome addition. It's also interesting how this area feels by far the most underdeveloped and underthought, which I think is obvious just from the enemy placements and things like that, which are things that I think you would notice if you just played it for the first time around. You can see there are not a lot of enemies, and even these enemies don't even feel particularly difficulty or well placed. They just seem to be scattered around, sort of, and it gives this impression that everything is kind of haphazardly. I guess it also fits with the lore of the place, since it's supposed to be like this broken city and everything is just messed up, so maybe the level design is messed up as well because of that reason. But I'm not just making this up. I think there was an official statement from the team that made the game, which confirmed that they didn't really have a lot of time because they had to publish the game, obviously, and they really couldn't focus in these late areas as much as they would necessarily have wanted to. And well, that's fair, you know. I'm not saying that these areas are bad or anything, but they don't have that impact on me as the starting places up until Ornstein do. They're just there when you complete them, and I think it's also noticeable in just the way I play. I do tend to go through these areas faster, and not even necessarily because I don't enjoy fighting enemies, but I just think it's so much better to go through, because you know, if you fail, or if at least if you make a mistake, you'll have to get through all of that again, and having to fight every single enemy, which just has a ton of HP, they're placed in odd ways. It's just not something that how about if you didn't do that, huh? I think this is one of those. I think this is the sister that died, or maybe it's yet another sister. But yeah, we just killed her basically. we really don't have any conscience whatsoever. Okay, my game is lagging a bit. Oh, I think that's Flux, just switching the screen to being a bit warmer in tone since it's getting dark, so your eyes don't hurt. So let's just wait the lag out a bit. And this is the final boss we'll be fighting before the end boss, which makes this a pretty monumental occasion. But what I really wanted to show is just, even though that this area might be a bit rushed and unfinished, just the fact that you're inside of a volcano of some sorts, I'm not really sure, like, it's a really cool sight. I would recommend every time you're in an area in Dark Souls, just look up, and I'm pretty sure that you'll be impressed, because holy damn, this is amazing in all regards. It's awesome, it really is. So what awaits us on the other side of the fog gate? You'll find out in the next in this one. We'll just get through, and what's great, it gives you this sliding puzzle of sorts. It's not even a puzzle, it's just you slide down, which is the most unusual thing I've ever seen in a Dark Souls game, but hey, that's life, I guess. What can you do? It's fun to slide around. I guess we could go a bit faster, maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah. We're down. Bed of Chaos. If you ever wondered what happened to that witch which turned the flame into, who tried to recreate the flame, well, this is her. Well, not exactly this is her, but this is what has become of her. And she turned into a giant monstrosity called the Bed of Chaos. And you might be wondering, okay, so what's the point of this boss fight? You just saw me kill one of the branches, and you can see that on the other side there's a very similar branch, which I have to kill in order to actually get through to the boss. And a lot of people say that this is the most unfair boss battle in the game, and not only most unfair, but also the most unfun, because it doesn't even necessarily have any concept to it or any strategy. It's just running through and hoping for good luck, and I would agree with that. It's definitely just luck reliant on when the Bed of Chaos is gonna nail you, like in this case, although I think that one is dodgeable. And you never know when it's just going to throw you off the cliff into the abyss below. So I guess we need to make a jump for it. Yeah, we have another breaking door. Although it's not. Okay, that was just my bad. What a lot of people do here is when they destroy the first branch, they exit the game and then spawn outside of. I'll just make a run for it, so it's not gonna. It shouldn't be too long, I'll say. So they just make, they kill the first branch, they exit the game, they come back in, and when they come back in, they're just in front of the fog gate, and that allows them to go for the second branch on the left without having to traverse from the right to the left. So that makes it just a bit easier. And then when you kill the second branch, exit out of the game again, and you can then do the branch in the middle. I'm sure I made a mistake there. There is a way to get through this with at least somewhat consistently. It's just that I haven't fought this boss in a long time, so kind of forgot how to do it. But like I said, thankfully the run from there to here isn't that big, and there aren't a lot of enemies in the way. Not big, but long is a better way of putting it. A much more appropriate word. And when we get there, I hope we can make it to the left, kill the other branch, and then we'll just have to kill the being in the middle, what was remaining of that Witch of Isolate, which then of course turned this whole place into lava. And that's the main reason I also used a weapon which is this strong at plus 14. You might be thinking he's coming up on some very epic boss battle at the end and he's just gonna wreck it because he has a strong weapon. But the fact is, you don't really even need a strong weapon to kill the Bed of Chaos. You just need to do 1 damage and that branch is pretty much dead. You can use your fist, you can use anything else, you can use a bow and arrows. Some people even throw grenades, not grenades, but bombs and fire bombs and things like that. And that's one way to actually take care of Bed of Chaos without having to worry. But it does require a lot of patience and training just to know where to aim in order to hit them. So maybe I wouldn't recommend doing it unless you know what you're doing, or maybe if you haven't seen a few tutorials on the internet. But you can see if you just make a run for it here, it's much easier to get to the left side since there's nothing in the way that's gonna stop you. And at the end you just have to make a pretty tight jump as far as I remember, and this was definitely not it. Maybe I need to be at 30 frames per second. Well, one thing you can do, as soon as you fall down, you can immediately exit out of the game and you'll be placed back at the boss gate. So I'm gonna spare you another run. I think I've said everything I wanted to say, so I'll just meet you back at the boss. So I'm sliding back down again and we'll have another shot. So I switched to 30 frames per second just in hopes that it will extend my reach. So if the game footage seems choppy or laggy, that's the reason, nothing else. And I hope that I'll actually be able to make that jump on my second try. So how do we do it? Well, first of all, thankfully now, because she or he or it or whatever has destroyed everything that's in our path, the path that's outlined for us is actually relatively easy to get to. So the only thing we need to do is stick the landing. Stick the landing is a good way to put it. Yeah, as you can see, oh god, with 30 frames per second it's much easier to actually get through. So that should be doable. And I think we can do the final part in 60, so I'll switch right back to 60. I guess if she went ballistic again, another branch has been destroyed, and now another branch extends from her body or whatever. I'm not even really sure what these branches are, what lore implications they have. But now we just have to get to the center and kill whatever is inside. And you can imagine that's not gonna be the hardest thing in the world. I think maybe it's a good idea to bait it. There's a... Oh god, Fire Tempest. Yeah, this is how it gets you. Fire Tempest is a doozy. How about if you didn't swipe, please? Oh god damn it, swipe me off again. This is what I say when I mean the fight is so unpredictable, because she doesn't always do the Fire Tempest. Sometimes she will just swipe randomly. What can I do? I'm gonna go back, and I hope that this will be the final path, or at least round I'll have to take. So, meet you there. Time for another slide. Yeah. Oh yeah, I hope that this time we'll get her. This final part is actually the most tedious one, or at least the hardest one to actually nail, because you can fall off very easily. Really, Fire Tempest as I'm sliding down. Come on. Bed of Chaos, stop with this nonsense. But thankfully what you just have to do is run straight at her. This opens up, and then you just need to nail the landing. And we nailed it. Okay, now we hope that she won't do another Firestorm. And I always get very panicky, because I think if she does it, I'm just dead. But you never know. So let's just try to go as fast as possible, get to the middle. You can see that there's this thing in the middle, and just kill it. Okay? Just kill it. There we go. So yeah, this little worm is what's left of the lady who turned herself into the Bed of Chaos, and that was the Bed of Chaos who controlled this giant tree, I guess. Which is a bit of a bummer when you think about it. It's really upsetting in some sense. I mean, she flushed. That was probably not her intention, you know. She just wanted to keep the fire going, and shit happened, and then the fire consumed everything and killed everyone and turned the whole place into lava, and eh. Good times, I'll say, good times. So now that we got all the Lord Souls, what we can do is, you can remember that there was the Lord Vessel in which we were supposed to put the Lord Souls. We'll get in there, we'll put the Lord Souls in there, and then we will see what happens. That's the reason. I'm not even gonna wake him up, he's apparently sleeping. I don't want to be the guy who wakes him up yet another time. So I'm just gonna go right down here by myself. Thankfully some magic floaty thing has saved me. And now I'm able to continue to the Firelink altar. So what happens if I offer the souls to the Lord Vessel? Let's see what happens. The door opened. I wonder what lies on the other side of the doors. Well, for that, we'll have to wait until the next episode. So for this one, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time.